In this past election, we watched school reform and stop, question, and frisk become two of the main issues to New York City voters. We witnessed one candidate running for mayor of New York City lose votes because of his position on this issue, and we watched another candidate gain from his position on it. The purpose of this special is to not only talk to residents in areas where stop, question, and frisk happens a lot, but to also show people that there's more to these neighborhoods than stop and frisk. Later in this show, we'll introduce you to people who are doing extraordinary things and making a difference in their community. I wasn't sure how people would react to someone stopping them in the streets to ask about an issue they just spent a year hearing about. However, the feedback was good and it taught me a lot. Although most people I interviewed were against stop, question, and frisk, some people understood how difficult it is to use this law enforcement tool in order to help stop crime in New York City.
Personal opinion on stopping and frisking for the police does kind of make sense. You know, there are people who might look suspicious, but it all depends on who exactly is being the victim, if there is reasonable doubt, if there is suspect person, I believe as officers should have the right to at least talk to you or maybe even just pat you down, but nothing too serious at the point where they're checking your pockets or asking you questions that may even incriminate yourself.
You gotta realize that the cops are getting paid to do a job. So if they're getting paid, they have to earn what they get paid for. If you fit the profile of somebody out here with your pants down, or somebody that's doing the kind of things that they looking for, they're gonna stop and frisk you.
And then there were people who had no tolerance towards stop and frisk at all.
It's used as a ploy for the police department to attack Latinos and Black Americans.
What do you think would be a good alternative to it?
To stop and frisk?
Yeah.
I don't think there is an alternative.
They're frisking people for no reason. And then if they find a reason on you, they'll make up a lie to get it through court. So they never come to court and say, oh, I stopped them for nothing. It was because it's black or because of the high crime area. They're going to come and say they had a description. They're going to say they had this. They're going to say they had a reason. You see what I'm saying? So they know when to go in and outside. What they want to do is just oppress the community. First of all, the alternative to stop and frisk is the Constitution. If the police have a probable cause, a reasonable suspicion to stop a person based on a fact that something had happened, a phone call that they had, a description of what the person has on, all that's important.
Stop and frisk is racially based. A lot of black kids have been getting stopped over the years for no reason. I remember I was in the park a few years ago playing basketball and I got stopped and frisked for like I was a criminal, like I had drugs or a gun or something. So I think it's definitely racially based, and hopefully sometime in the future we can just have it so everything is equal. And
what do you think will be a good alternative to stop and frisk then?
Just get rid of it altogether.
While you're walking down the street, you're basically racially profiling me because I look a certain way, or I dress a certain way, or I walk a certain way.
Stopped and frisked a couple of times. Mostly because they just see a black person with an afro, his pants hanging, or he got some nice clothing on. That's the first reason for a stop and frisk.
They won't go to no white neighborhoods and do that. They do it to us because they know we're vulnerable to that. You know what I mean?
You know it's wrong, you know it's unjust, you know it's based on a hatred that they have for blacks. That's the foundation of it. It's based on a hatred that they have for blacks.
I didn't think it was very good because they're stopping people that sometimes they weren't even doing anything. Like I've been stopped a couple of times. I do home improvement work, so I might be standing there looking on the corner to see which way I'm going, and then I'm getting run up on by police and stuff. They said they stopped it, but they really didn't and stuff. They're still gonna figure out some way to mess with us as always. So
Yes, I mean, I must admit, some is racial profiling, but we gotta realize that it's not about the color of our skin that matters the most, but it's about who we are on the inside that shines through.
While I was doing my interviews, I met Dr. Tyrene Wright, a former professor at CUNY who had some very interesting information to share.
Let me just say, as an educator, in New York, for example, they make a big deal about education grades in 3rd grade, right? Whether students pass reading and math. And I'm going to tell you how this relates. The reason why they're looking so closely at 3rd and 4th graders is because those numbers, whoever's failing reading and math, those statistics, they're sold to agencies. And they're sold to those agencies, one of which, or many of which, that build prisons. So they make prison projections from as early as 8 years old for our children. They have a great plan for African children in America. And they make those projections by who's failing reading and math at 8 years old, and they will project that they will be incarcerated by 18, 19, and 20. This is why you have police in schools instead of school safety now. So the point is that ultimately it feeds the prison industrial system. They got to do the numbers, and it's a number game. They stop more people, they arrest more people. And I think that goes, I think we all know what it's like to be stopped. Even, written tickets, like if you're driving, and know that you're not guilty of something right then and there, but they still write them. So my point is that, yes, it unfairly targets the black population, but we also have to understand that we're a designated population. And as long as we're in a country and live here as a designated population, a population that was meant to be capitalized upon and not capitalized in America, then we'll be preyed upon to that extent. Is it unconstitutional? Yes, it's unconstitutional if you are a citizen who can invoke your rights, but that's just the problem. We've been in this country for 400 years, we've been citizens of this country for the last 140 years, but we've always had very conditional citizenship.
This is the territory of the 101st Precinct located in Far Rockaway. From July 1st to September 30th, stop and frisk has been enforced the most in this area with 968 stops. However, one could argue that even though most stops don't lead to convictions, we have to acknowledge that these are areas known for crime.
But in Rockaway alone, in 3 months, I got pulled over, stopped and frisked probably about 10 times. And I see it every day out here. Every day they hop out. People just walking minding their business, hop out, to stop and frisk you, or to search you.
Why do you think they're doing that?
They say, neighborhood control, whatever, but I think at the end of the day, it's still racial profiling.
You won't stop and frisk a working citizen with a uniform on, but you won't stop and frisk the criminals walking past you with the gun?
Why do you think it's like that?
Well, first of all, the cops are scared. They know who the criminals are, but they'd rather harass working people than people walking by instead. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of the actual criminals.
There's a lot of crimes going on in the black community, with the Hispanic community and whatnot. But still, all in all, that's not a good enough reason to stop any old body based on how they look. Because as you can tell, killers, they come in all shapes and forms and sizes. You got all these white people killing people. So you can't just look at somebody and tell that they're a murderer or something like that because they dress a certain way, or because they talk a certain way, or they act a certain way.
Offensive. I don't see them going around. I go on Long Island, I don't see no cop stopping a white kid just because he's walking around. You come over here, you're at night, it's automatically he's up to no good. I can't be outside at night.
According to the NYPD data reports, most reasons for stop and frisk are because of a suspicious bulge or because the person is in an area known for crime. According to the New York City Civil Liberties Union, in 2002, there were 97,296 stops and 1,892 victims of gunfire. In 2011, there were 1,821 victims of gunfire and a record 685,724 stops. Most of the research suggests that stop, question, and frisk is not working. However, would it be right if we didn't start having a conversation about accountability? In 2012, 419 people were classified as murder victims, the lowest number in over 50 years. 57% were shot, 27% were stabbed, 42% was either dispute or revenge. Black New Yorkers, who make up 23% of the city's population, represent 60% of those murdered.
They got the young people growing up. 15, 16, 17. They robbing older people now. They robbing grandma, and they robbing
uncles and grandparents and grandfathers. So I feel like the crime that do have something to do with it.
Through September 25th, 2013, homicides in the city totaled 240, compared with 327 by the same point in 2012. Williams Scarborough represents the 29th district in Queens County. He represents a district he was raised in and has a strong record on youth service. Do you think it would be fair to not talk about accountability and the fact that the crime is high in a lot of these neighborhoods?
I think everything needs to be discussed, not only stop and frisk and whether it's working or whether it can be reformed, but actually what do we do to improve the safety conditions in our community, which is what all of these initiatives are about.
Lakia Echols is the founder of the Making My Mother Proud organization. Their mission is to provide guidance and motivation to the youth in the Far Rockaway community towards achieving their goals through education and life paths.
I'd say that I really changed a lot. And when I first met Miss Kia, I'm not gonna lie, I used to fight all the time. Meeting Miss Kia, she taught me how to walk away from certain situations or talk about the situation instead of fighting, because I was really a fighter. I really fought, I really didn't care. But then I seen certain situations and I realized that fighting is not always a way to solve problems. And she taught me that it's not always solving problems with fighting. It's just that you could talk or you could just walk away from the whole situation altogether.
I like coming here is because that she teaches how to be ourselves and no disrespect, have responsibility for ourselves so we can reach to the future.
Take me through the process from 2006 to 2013. What made Making My Mother Proud come about?
Okay, 2006, when I first got home from overseas, I actually was going back to work with a company helping an orphanage with their youth. When I got home, I saw that there was 3 killings within my own neighborhood, and I figured, why I'm going to a third world country to help over there when I can stay home and help the kids in my community. So from there, I did join local community groups, but I felt like it wasn't enough for me, and I felt it wasn't impacting the kids as much. So then I just was I could form my. But once you get that bond and get that trust from them, they open up. It's with the girls and the boys. So it becomes really easy.
Meet LaShawn Suga Ray Marston. He's an activist, world healer, and I recently found out he'll be starting farm school in a few weeks.
Oh man, farm school, that came out of nowhere, honestly. Last 5 years, almost 6 years, I've been doing different community building projects, peace rallies and peace movement, promoting peace, advocating for peace and things like that. I work with families who lost loved ones to murder. A lot of parents, man. I can't even tell you how many funerals I've been to for people under 19 years old in the 5 boroughs in the last 5 years. I stopped counting. All young black, brown men, or even sisters, girls. And working with the families. Also, working with the families, I was helping them heal spiritually, helping them gain understanding, but there was still something missing. And they were still missing their loved one, still mourning over, in Queensbridge they'll walk by their little makeshift memorial, the liquor bottles, the candles, things like that. And they'll go there to remember, will be disgusted because that represents the same lifestyle that led to the murder, right? So I said, what can I do, or how can we better help our parents, our loved ones heal? I said, through the connection with the earth. Getting them doing something therapeutic. Like some people knit, right? Some people draw, some paint, some dance, a variety of things. These parents weren't into any of that. They didn't know how to bring it out of them. I said, well, one thing I do know is they eat, right? And maybe if I can make them grow their own food and create a memorial garden, a life garden for their loved ones. NYDC, that's Misunderstood Youth Development Center, and that's headed by a good friend of mine, Miss Terrell Evans. She's a life coach, parent coach, things like that. She's an author actually as well. But what we do that's an alternative citizen program. So we come from different places, our family come from different places, but you see, we had way more things in common than we had against them. So we gotta start thinking like that. Again, not right and wrong. Because you spit in the wind, I shot a rabbit. Who's wrong is wrong. When your spit ended up hitting somebody somewhere, somehow. So when young men are arrested, for let's say a robbery, D-felony, something like that, right? Low robberies. If the district attorney or the lawyer knows about the program, like when you're arrested, your family or the lawyer or the DA can ask for what other alternatives are there besides prison. So if they qualify their crime, their case, whether they have any priors or anything like that, this program is offered to them. And what they do is for a minimum of 12 months, they come to our program and they come daily, 5 days a week. They start wearing an ankle bracelet. They have curfew. They do community service, right? And what it is like a transformational program. They come in one way and leave another way. And the beauty of it is that if they complete successfully when they graduate, they go back before the judge and their records are sealed and dismissed. So no felony on their record.
So what made you want to change your life?
Life, right? What made me want to change my life is my life, man. Knowing that from a child, I had certain talents, certain abilities, certain skills that I really wasn't using. I wasn't making the most of my talents, my abilities. And in many ways, I would say that I was wasting my life in the streets, drinking, drugging, messing with women, that whole lifestyle, that whole street lifestyle, money, hoes, and clothes, right? That was the life. And I saw certain things. Certain people get killed, certain people go to jail, certain people get strung out on drugs. And I was caught up in that, so I didn't really understand the effect that it had on family. I had a picture in my head, and the picture was a picture of me growing older. It was two pictures. It was one picture of me growing older, not using my talents, being a waste. And there was another picture of me no longer here, right? So I made a change. And in that same picture, what I remembered was getting shot, and when I was shot, the brother who shot me could have killed me.